I mean, the only reason we're having this conversation is how many followers do you have?
Yeah, exactly. I wish I didn't know exactly. I mean, it should be 115K by the end of the day.
That's congratulations.
You know, it's funny. Most of this, I talked to our mutual friend Trevor Wallace, and he goes, hey man, just so you know, none of them feel better than 100K. And I was like, thanks.
That is really funny.
The climb is over. So
yeah, I don't. That's interesting. That's probably true. Well, really, it's just anytime you get a certain number of followers, that wears away very quickly, and then you're like, all right, now I got to get 101.
Well,
201.
I remember talking to John about this years ago of like the amount of followers you have to get, new followers to get to feel something. Cause you're like when you first get on, you're like every new follower. And then it's like every 100 new followers, and then every 1,000 new followers, and every 10,000 new followers. And now once you're over like the 100 mark, you're like, well, I'd like that to be 150.
Yeah.
You're like your increments of success. But as you also know, like it is like very much like a 1%ers thing in that, or it's like the Matthew principle, like to whom those have given, much more is given. It's easier to get followers when you have followers. Because I do that. Yeah. I'll see like a viral video and then I'll click on their profile and they'll have like 9,000 followers. And like, it's a fluke.
Oh yeah. Is that how you operate there? If you see that
on a new follow, I'm like, have I seen them be like consistently good for a while?
Yeah.
Before I,
well,
and
that's
then on TikTok. Go ahead.
No, that's like a lot of people will be doing this for a while and they'll be frustrated. And I'll talk to them, and they'll be like, I just feel like I've been doing these videos, and they're good videos, and I've been doing them for a while, and nothing's popping off. I'm like, that's like the hardest part and the work right there, because as soon as you have one that just goes exponentially viral, they're going to do exactly what you did and be like, how long has this guy been doing it? And if you can with the inspiring thing about that, one of the very few inspiring things about social media is that content is still king. And if you do really good, funny videos for long enough, it's very unfair. Some people whose stuff pops off quick and people who don't. It has nothing to do with how funny you are. But I think if you keep willing to keep doing it, willing to keep being funny for free for long enough, like it will take off.
Yeah.
I think
you're
but
right.
Maybe that could be my privileged white guy with a big Midwest audience talking to you right now. What do I know?
No, I appreciate that you self-deprecated your own advice there. And you really hate yourself to that core level that you could say something so clearly inspirational and helpful and go, but what do I know? I'm a piece of garbage.
Yeah. Well, I have to do that. That's my that's what I have to do. Just in case, and this is why I did it. Just in case there was somebody out there thinking it. And because I am who I am, I assume there's at least 5 people thinking it. Between 5 and 5,000, I thought you
were going to say it just in case the Catholicism is actually true.
Well, what are you talking about? What exactly isn't true? Huh? You non-denominational. Yeah. What's your denomination again? I forget because you don't have one.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
We're the one that started in rebellion.
Oh, is that right? Is that right? Well, I don't. So Martin Luther, that's a very nail in the
95 Theses.
99 Theses. You know, he's got 99 Theses and a confession ain't one. Nailing them to the deal. So like theatrical. You know, what did the non-denoms do? What the non-denoms do?
Isn't it? When you say it like that, it is a lot. And, you know, you're like, you could have like had a lunch. You could have like shared some of your points. You're like, hey, I got some new thoughts. The nail on the door and all 95 of them he seems a bit much. And the more when you read his writings and, you know, and stuff, you're like, all right, why don't you, I mean, I guess to start a new thing from the Catholic Church, you had to have a bit of drama to you, but still.
Do you think that he did like each piece? I mean, 95, that's a lot. Do you think he nailed each one to like, so he nailed 95 times?
No, I think it was on one sheet.
One sheet?
Yeah.
Do you think it was double-sided?
Yeah, or at least very long. It's in my mind, it's very scroll-like. You know?
Okay.
It would be very funny if it was 95 because you would be like, listen, you just don't have efficient leadership skills, like time management issues. Right. Put it on all one piece of paper, buddy.
Right.
The Catholic Church, they've got their problems. Efficiency is not one of them. They are a tightly run operation.
Oh, they got the ship going. I'm trying to fix my hair. I feel like I look like I play lacrosse right now, so I'm trying to fix it. But
listen, you're
Jimmy Neutron hair.
Listen, you are in my actual setup right here. Does it look like I'm standing? Because I am standing.
It does look like you're standing in like your family guest bedroom because you got kicked out of your office because you.
So many funny assumptions there. One that I can afford a guest bedroom. I think you forget I live in California. This is our bedroom. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is and. The reason I'm standing is because earlier this week I threw out my back, and so I'm standing with a warm brain.
Oh, I love that for so many reasons. What is that?
That's show business, baby.
What is that?
Show business. It's a little warm pack. This thing came fresh out of the microwave. Look how like when we're here, I look like a presentable human being, right? Mm-hmm. You're like, oh yeah, this works on a podcast. You know, he's got a cool hat, it has the glass, and just here, I'm just like every dad you've ever seen. I threw on the gray with it. I've got Birkenstocks on under here. It's a whole thing.
How'd you throw out your back?
Oh, age. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, it was. I overdid it when we had to get some stuff under the bed, and I lifted a bed, and I was like, oh, I feel it happening. It's gonna hit tomorrow. And sure enough, I bent over. Have you ever had lower back spasms?
That's why. First of all, I love how closely. I think in one of your specials, you had a joke about someone throwing out their back, and they threw it out. Something about the bed. I forget exactly what the joke was.
Holding. Yeah. It was an old employee of mine. Yeah.
So you guys just got to stay away from the beds. Yeah, I thought since that was your joke, you would. I know you would know that.
It was. It's a very like humiliating injury, the lower back spasms, because it doesn't actually happen where you did something. It usually hits you like a day or two later, and it's like an invisible injury. Nobody sees anything. They just hear you whimpering on the ground. Mm-hmm. And like the first time my wife asked me about it, I was like, I feel like I'm having a baby through my butt. It hurts so bad.
Wow.
Like it feels like you're having like contractions or something in your lower back.
The back spasms, a baby through your butt. I'm trying to think if I have had lower back pain, but I don't think I've had this yet.
You would know these. They bring you. It's like a nerve thing, so it puts you on the ground, like you can't function. It's about as painful as you can feel that I felt at least. Like, and the most humiliating part about it is like you don't really get to go to the doctor because they're like, yeah, it's ice and Advil and rest. That's it. They don't want to do an X-ray. They're not gonna. There's nothing broken in there. You're just old. You're just that the real diagnosis is like, welcome to middle age.
No.
this is one of your problems.
I love it when you're not old, you're just not stretching enough. You're not old, you're just not drinking enough water. It's all the stuff you're not doing, and you kind of live that out for a while until finally you're old,
Yeah,
Because
hilarious.
there's the age where you're not doing the things you should be doing enough. In your 20s, you can do whatever you want to your body. And then in your 30s, you got to stretch, stay hydrated, not drink, not smoke, not, do anything fun. And then, and then eventually once, I think how old are you?
38.
Okay. I'm
How
35.
old are you?
35.
Yeah.
When does it happen? When do you go from?
I think in your 40s I was thinking about this morning. In your 40s is the time that no one will refer to you as young anymore. Like, because in this gap right now, like we're late 30s here. So some people in like their 40s and their 50s will still roll their eyes at you. But I don't think that happens in your 40s.
Okay. You are called young in your 40s if you have a heart attack in your 40s. Like, oh my gosh, she was so young. That's the only time.
There's a very good chance I'm doing that on stage. Because what I was going to say is the bit that I was thinking about, the thing is that in your 30s, people will still call you young. And in your 40s, people will go, well, you still have your health. Like that's the line that they'll use. But you are right. The only part about being young in your 40s is if you die. Mm-hmm. It's a crime if one of us doesn't put that on stage. That's so funny. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. You can't. It's not that you're not so young. It's only he was so young.
Yeah. But he was so young. Yeah, he is so young. It's he was so young.
He was so
there
young.
it is. There it is. Being the old stuff, I'm drinking smoothies when I wake up because otherwise it's the only time in the day where I'm like, all right, I'll get the greens in. Speaking of this, and I spilt some smoothie because I drink it right out of the smoothie cup because I'm not going to buy smoothies. I'm going to get the little NutriBullet thing.
Oh, of course.
But I don't want to get a cup to actually move the smoothie in because that's like just wasting a cup and then I got to wash that cup. So I drink it right out of the smoothie thing. But because it's got the little curls, it drips onto my shirt. Every morning it drips onto my shirt and I go like that and it usually goes away. This morning I forgot to go like that and I just did an interview trying to promote my special.
I take it as a compliment that you didn't even think you needed to clean up for me. That you're that comfortable around me that you're like, I don't need to look in the mirror.
But first of all, that's very true. Second of all, I'm telling you, I'm not even talking about you, dude. I did a news interview right before I talked to you.
Oh, you're not talking about this?
No. Oh, no, you're doing this in your bedroom right now. Do you think I really care?
True.
I mean,
that's true. And I'm about to take this off, just so you know, because it's been enough time.
Take it off, dude. Take it off.
Now I'm loose.
You're feeling good, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, I've been doing. I actually did a new bit the other day on stage, also about lower back issues because my lower back's been hurting, and I was doing it about I was doing it wearing Hokas. Which I do not. Somebody told me. I've heard two things about Hokas. I've heard that they are cool and that they are very uncool. And I know them for a fact to be the most uncool shoe in the world. I mean, these like every time I wear these, I feel like I should be walking to a parent-teacher conference.
Yeah, I was going to say, as a dad, I rolled my eyes at those, and that's disconcerting.
Yeah, but okay. So let me explain why I'm wearing them. The only reason I'm wearing them is because of my lower back. They're the only thing. Like I will walk around my house in Crocs, and my lower back hurts. I'll walk around in boots. Like I have three pairs of shoes, one of which is Crocs. And those do well. They have some stuff. But anyway,
do you have the little things in them? The little What are my kids? My kids said what are they called?
I don't know. They're little tchotchkes.
Yeah. What do you have in yours?
I honestly don't know. Crocs sent me them because I'm just that cool.
Okay.
I'm just that
Gibbets, is that
cool.
what it's called here? It's in
Gibbets.
the
Thank
chat.
you, Colleen.
There you go.
Yeah.
Gibbets.
Gibbets.
So you Crocs.
Do you have gibbets in your Crocs?
I have a pair of Crocs. I don't find myself wearing them a lot. I find myself a little more of a sandal guy. It fits kind of my Birkenstocks, and I think that checks out for me. I'm kind of a Birkenstocks granola type human. And my kids, though, wear them a lot. And they've got like the funny ones. They've got like Shrek, Shrek is so fun. Shrek's a real meme. Shrek is really passed down to this Gen Z generation. So they wear them constantly.
Yeah, they do. I want to do something in the middle of this to promote your special, just so people know if they're like, in case they tune out. I kind of want to treat this interview like a Terry Gross interview. If you're joining me now, my guest is Dustin Nickerson. He's a very funny stand-up comedian with 115 Instagram followers.
As of now,
so Dustin. Yeah, you check it again.
It's like a live count, like a telethon. Oh no, it's going down.
Your special is out. Is coming out at the time this interview comes out? What's the name of the special? Where can people find it?
Depending on when this comes out. So the special's out March 28th, which when you're listening to this, it may be today. That may be in the past. That may be in the future. I don't know where you are, but. It's called Runs in the Family, and it's on a little website called YouTube. You may have heard of it.
Yeah, I put mine out on YouTube too. Mine is also out at the time of this thing. How was it? What's it?
What's yours called?
Oh, you didn't watch the trailer I released on my channel 3 days ago?
No, I only see your sketches.
Oh.
I see a lot of your sketches though.
I do appreciate that. I see a lot of your videos too. They're very funny. I'm one of your 115. It's called Midwest Goodbye. What's yours called?
Runs in the Family.
Oh yeah, you already said that.
Yeah, I did already say that. So, you can get mad at me for not watching your trailer, or I can get mad at you for not hearing what I said less than 30 seconds. But that's cool that you got a special coming out too. That's cool.
Yeah. Real cool. So how do you feel upon releasing? Is it all edited, done, up?
We're almost there. We're doing like the final fine tunes of just like some small audio changes, a couple little edits here and there. Did you edit all yours yourself?
No. I mean,
okay.
Robbie, my buddy Robbie did. And then Max. I had like a lot of people on my team, Colleen, who's she's on the other end of listening to this. Hannah, like a bunch of people helped edit it who work with me. Did you edit all of yours yourself?
No, mine was directed and is edited by a dude that lives in a van named Alec Parent, who is a funny comic and a very good video guy. And he does a lot of like clips and records a lot of shows and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was like, hey, could you piece together a special? Do you think we could do this? Yeah. And he's done a great job. But it's definitely been like, it's very. Sometimes I'll be like, I can't believe that this all happened on a dude's laptop in a van.
Yeah. That's great. Is he expensive?
No, I wouldn't have used him if he was. You don't get a guy who lives in a van because he's expensive. You get him for the opposite reason. You get him before he lives inside while he's cheap. He did a good job. But
that's awesome.
It's like though, like, at the end of the day, like specials, like I think it's so funny when like comedy specials have a director. You're like, the comic is the director. We're the director. Like we're the producer, the director, the only person in it because you did direct everything. You set it up. You have the final say on everything. You're like, they send you edits and then you go back and forth and say this, add this, change this. When I'm editing my special or I'm going through and watching it for edits, my brain is going, the best thing that this special could be, way we could make this better is if it was a different stand-up comedian. That's what it, that's what it needs.
I know.
It needs to not be me. That's the issue here.
I know. I had a dark night of the soul editing my special too, which I think
was
turned
this the
out
night
great.
You called me?
Yeah. Yep.
That was the night you called me.
That was the night I called you. I was like, I gotta shoot it. I gotta shoot it again. Yeah.
Yeah. And that wasn't your darkest moment, because I gotta shoot it again is right before I have to quit comedy. That's the actual.
You saved me from my darkest moment. I didn't quite get there yet.
Yeah, you're like, I know, I just can't do this. I'm not good at this.
Yeah, I know. And then you watch, I watched Nate's special.
Yeah, so good.
And I was like, I'm gonna go back to being a bike mechanic, I think. Would you consider yourself a clean comic?
Oh yeah, I'm a clean comic. Yeah,
but I mean, like, what's the line for that? Like, what can you not say to be a clean comic? Like, if your audience screams back at you, "Fuck the Bears," that's still clean because in the context it's before the Bears, so it doesn't count, right?
Yeah, it is. That's a really interesting line on yours, because that is the only time that there's swearing during your show. Right. Like, right. Which is such a funny thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even like, in the context of knowing anything about the NFL in the Midwest, it doesn't even really feel like cursing.
No, it's just a fact, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like when people are like, well, you shouldn't do drugs and alcohol is bad for you too. You're like, alcohol doesn't count. Don't throw that in there.
Yeah.
I know you're technically right, but we all accept alcohol as a poison that we're allowed to consume.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's one of the many.
So no, I'd still put you, I think you're safe. Plus, are you saying it? Or they just yell it at you? You kind of
they yelled at
once.
me. Yeah, they yelled at me. I actually didn't say it. The audience said it back at me twice, and I realized.
That's hilarious.
No, I forget why I was asking that question. Yeah, in the special. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you were talking about Nate and being clean and.
Oh, yeah, and so he did a lot of bits that because I get that I was like, like there will be a time when someone will do a bit where you're like, shit.
Yeah.
You'll say all the not clean things because you're like, that was a bit that I almost could have thought of if I was better at what I did, Yep.
Yeah. That's the compliment to the comic of like, it's also kind of funny and arrogant when you do that, when you're like, oh, I should have thought of that. I'm like, well, you didn't.
Yeah. You had literally a decade to think of that joke.
Yeah.
You've experienced this your whole life.
Yeah,
and you haven't done it. What makes you think you were just going to do it tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, if enough time would have passed, I would have gotten to it. Yeah. You're like, what? What are you talking about? You didn't think of it. They did. Mm-hmm. I think that Nate is a great example of that, though, of where you go, because Nate is so accessible and relatable, that you just go, that was right there in front of me. How did I not think? Now, I will say this about Nate bits of like, I don't know if you ever try and quote a Nate bit. They're not funny unless he says them. He's like the package. Yeah. Like Nate, it's all like, I think that bit about like picking up ice is one of the funniest bits I've ever heard. And I don't even repeat it to people because I'm like, I'm not going to do this justice. Like, because it's not. You got to hear him and the whole package of it and the accent and the low energy and Nate's. Yeah. And he's so subtle up there. It's incredible.
It is. And you're right. Cause you're like, why? He does a lot of jokes, which is why didn't I think of that? Which is usually I did think of that. I just didn't think it was a bit. Like I observed it.
That's good,
I know, like noticing it, like seeing it and observing it are two different things,
Yeah. And then I go, and I'm not talented enough to make it funny.
Yeah, right. Like a better comedian would
Yeah.
do really good with that, you know.
But you know your strengths in a certain way. It's so funny. I like, I'm like working now on what will be like my third hour,
Yeah.
and I was talking to Taylor Tomlinson, who I tour with a lot right now. And, I was doing the outline for the new hour. And I was like, so I told her I'm really switching it up this hour. I'm talking about aging, marriage, my kids, and my dad. And she laughed. I was like, that's all I've ever talked about. Those are the four. Everything, even if it's like a political joke or something like that, it's still under the umbrella of me talking about aging, marriage, my kids, or my dad. Those are it. Those are the four topics that I got.
That's wildly surprising. You saying that is pretty surprising because, by the way, I initially brought up Nate too, also to say that in a lot of ways you as much as you're putting yourself down, self-deprecating. If I were Netflix, I would be recommending you in the same vein as Nate. Your stuff is hilarious. And it's also, it is in the same way. It's although I'm going in two different places. You did do a lot of funny stuff around like when you did your pandemic show. You did a lot of like right. Those kinds of things, but I guess it was in context with like what was all going on there.
But
it was very funny.
Yeah, you are right. There is, I guess you know what it is like there's specials, and then there's like the shows that I did with Kev, like Kev on Stage, and like the only white comedian for the all black crowd and stuff like that. Those almost feel like timely, like appearances almost.
Oh, that's the way you would call that?
Yeah. A lot of those are like, because I was like, I'm going to post a lot of this material and a lot of it's not going to be in a special anywhere. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of different in that I usually write jokes for at least half that set usually is stuff that I wrote for that show or have been like things that I've just kind of been like, riffing about or maybe doing like locally like COVID jokes or there's a lot of BLM stuff in there and like that you're like okay, or vaccine jokes or something like that you're like, but I don't know if you think this, like there's not, I was telling this to Mel from the time that Kobe died to I think the insurrection, I think that 2-year span, everybody was talking about the same thing simultaneously. It all went from Kobe died, and then we went straight into COVID, and then we went straight into the BLM stuff, and then we had an election, and then we had vaccines, or we went vaccine stuff, election, vaccine stuff, insurrection. We were all talking about the one same thing simultaneously, and I don't think that's the case anymore. Like it doesn't feel like we have like groupthink the way we used to. Where everyone is like, this is the one issue that we're talking about. So when I felt like during the pandemic, I was like, you have to talk about some of these things because it's literally what everybody is thinking about. Like if January 7th, you did stand-up comedy and you didn't acknowledge the insurrection the day before, you're like, what are you doing?
Right.
There has to be at least some nod to that. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I flew in today. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I just got back from storming the Capitol. I don't know what your joke was. You felt like you had to say something. And I have not been doing nearly as much like topical stuff since then because I just don't feel a need to. Because people are like, yeah, just do your act, man. I'm here for the act, baby. Make fun of the city I'm in, and then let's go.
Right. Yeah. I think it's there's just I get so exhausted. I mean, I've got some jokes that I think overarching say stuff about sort of where we are to a degree, but I did the news kind of thing for so long. Even before the Mantua Minute, it was like a lot of headline punchline type stuff. And following that and trying to figure out if a story's going to live long enough to make the video worth doing and that whole like deal, and then seeing a video you put a lot of work into have a very short shelf life because you're always chasing the news stream. It was so exhausting that and that's from, I guess, making a video standpoint. Doing a joke on stage is that's something I still do quite a bit, but the video aspect, that's a lot to do.
You're right though, that like, you know, that's the problem with topical stuff. It has a really short shelf life. And I think one of the best jokes I ever wrote was a vaccine joke about, I don't even remember, like, about the Johnson and Johnson, that I didn't trust it because it was 2 shots, and I didn't like how they were in a meeting and they're like, hey, all the other vaccines are 1 shot, but like, remember what we did with shampoo and conditioner, you know? And then I did like a full act out, the 2 become 1. That was an incredible joke. Like, I'm complimenting myself. That is such a funny joke, and it would murder. It would like bring the house down. And then you're like, and then you just felt it diminishing on stage because everyone's like, yeah, I don't want to talk about this. And nobody remembers how many shots the Johnson and Johnson was or anything like that. And that's the hard part with topical material. You're like, oh, I wrote this incredible thing and now it's dead.
Right. Like here's what I would do. I would go to like the thing, like Newser, some like aggregating website, and look for like a red one, you know, that means this is a big deal. Patricia Heaton has incredible response to Don Lemon. I'm not even going to pretend like I know what, and that's like, that's a big newsmaker story. I have no idea what the hell. Honestly, I'm not. Do you know Patricia Heaton well?
I know who she is. Yeah. And she was, Everybody Loves Raymond, right? The wife?
Yeah. I didn't know. I was like, is she a politician? I should know. That's, you know.
I think she is very political now. I think she's, I think that
is she right or left? I really don't know.
Right. I don't know that. Yeah. I'm guessing there.
But I'm so much happier not knowing that.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Yeah. So anyway,
I do it now. I'll like, I'll do it like on Twitter. I'll go like, what's trending? And is there anything that everyone, and now it's like mostly sports. Yeah. And I'm all right, things are back to the way they should be.
Yeah. I also think Twitter changed a lot. Cause now,
under Elon?
Well, I don't really go on anymore because like there's so much crap on Twitter. At one point in my life, I just followed a lot of people to try and get them to follow me back. You know, like early in when they were like, you just need followers. You know, like I'm old enough that like the acceptable thing to do was to then go follow a bunch of people so they follow you back.
Right.
Consequently, I follow I think a lot of people, and I don't really have a feed. And then so if I'm going to figure out, I usually use the hashtag thing. But now, like, everybody's got a hashtag, so I don't even know what I'm supposed to care about, you know?
I mean, I would say it's a middle-aged problem in general. That I don't know what I'm supposed to care about anymore.
Yeah.
Can someone think about the things you're passionate about in your 20s, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Like you see your old Facebook memory post and you're like, oh no, there's no one I hate more on this planet than my former self.
Yeah. I know.
Oh my God.
I think there's a lot going on in this world, and there's a lot of good you can do, and there's a lot of good you can do by caring. But I think, you know, just getting swept up in whatever is like, there are some people who I know, if there's some, like, whatever they're going to post is going to make some big issue out of something that, you know, they just learned about 2 days ago. Like, and now they're a freaking expert, and anyone who disagrees with the 2 days of research they did, and by 2 days, I mean 2 hours, they just, then they're a bad person. And, I don't even care what side of the issue you're on. It's just, we all know those people, and there's nothing more than exhausting. And I also fear that at one point in my life, I may have been that person, which is
the real fear. I think what it is there are a lot of issues that I care about and that you care about. It's that I tend not to care a lot about the people who are always talking about that issue.
Right. Right.
Because we are like enough in this world of like where you're like, you don't actually care about that issue. You're just trying to grow a platform,
Right.
or upset people, or be a troll, or
That's
whatever
it
it may
there.
be. Yeah,
That's it. That's
like,
what's upsetting me.
Yeah. You're like, so many, and we see comics do this of like, you don't care about this.
Right.
You've just found a little following here. You don't, it's very like politician of them. You're like, hey, you're saying what it takes to get votes, baby.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. I mean, but there was a comic that I knew who was, I don't know, he was just doing whatever. But then he started doing these hard right. His stuff was funny, I thought, but then he just was he did like one hard right video. And I think he got so much feedback from like the far right, they just kept doing more and more of those.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, and it happens on the far left too. It's not left or right, but it's just, you get into this feedback, thing, and people like that. Or they have no, I don't know. I think people feel like they have no choice but to like their audience and to like, if you just do videos that aren't batshit crazy, you don't need to keep making batshit crazy videos.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think what you're saying is you and I are similar. You and I are like, I feel bad for their followers in the sense that you're like, hey, they don't believe this.
Right.
They don't. They've just found a following. And that was their whole goal. Was just
they're trying to sell merch that says sheeple. And the only way you sell a shirt that says sheeple is if you pretend like you're not all sheep yourself like wearing a sheeple shirt. If you are all wearing sheeple shirt, what do you think? That's not ironic anymore. That's just real.
Like the comic on the other side is trying to sell masks.
Right. Exactly.
They trust the science.
Exactly. Oh God. Oh man. I hated that so much because like I was like during COVID, I was like, all right, what do we need? Just, it's a simple thing, and they're like, we need masks. And so I was like, doing this, a Bloody Mary video. And I was like, and the hospitals need masks. So they said, even if you make them, take them on over there or whatever. And like 2 weeks later, they were like, yeah, those homemade masks, those don't work. I was like, well, I could have told you that, like didn't anyone think before you got everyone to take these in the hospitals? But Charlie, I don't know.
Remember when we couldn't find them?
Oh, remember when? Yes. Yeah. Did we bring this up?
We were together right when this all was happening. I don't think we've talked about this. We were like on the eve of the end of the world together.
Wait. When was the last time you were on this podcast?
I'm not sure. I think it might have been when my last special came out, which would have been. So it was after we worked together. So maybe we did talk about it.
Well, let's talk about the story. Oh, Colleen says April of 2021, episode 42. Thank you, Colleen.
It was for the book. We might not have talked about it then.
Okay. All right. So all right. So tell the story. Where were we?
This was February 2020. This would have been like mid-February 2020.
In fact, I land. Hang on. I'm going to give a little more detail to this. As I just say, tell the story. I'm going to jump in.
Let's do it together. Baby.
Okay. So I'm landing in Seattle, I think. Tacoma, maybe? Yes. And as I literally pick up my phone, doing the thing when the entire plane is turning their phone on as soon as and the first thing it says is first case of coronavirus, which I think is what it was called back then. First case of coronavirus lands in Washington.
In Seattle,
Washington State, as I literally am landing. I'm like, oh, shit. Wow.
Here
all
we
right.
go.
Enter your
I was opening for you. We were doing a run of shows in Tacoma, Portland, and Spokane. Spokane was second. Portland was last, I think. I think we went Tacoma, Spokane, Portland. And so we're driving. We're just kind of like casually talking about like, oh, COVID, what's going to happen? Wash your hands, everybody. It's the new monkeypox or whatever. We don't know. We're just like being stupid. And like we were like we're driving over the Cascades into Eastern Washington, which I've done a bunch, and it's like kind of rural and desolate out there. And we're like, we should make a video about masks, like designing your own mask, or like, hey, everyone has a mask. Let's have like a fashion mask. Like that was the idea, was like, making, and this was like, and now we're like, that's like an actual product that people have worn for 2 years now. But this was forever ago. And we were like, let's go try and find one, right?
Yeah.
And you couldn't find one. Like we were in the early times where they were getting masks scooped up. Like we went to like Home Depot, we went to like arts and crafts stores.
Yeah, you couldn't find a wood mat or one for wood particles that didn't even do anything. You couldn't find it at all. And this was shortly after. And also, by the way, at this point, the people buying the masks is the exact people, for the most part, if I were to generalize, the people who were buying masks early are the people who were not wearing masks after the fact.
Hilarious.
I mean, if that's like, because we were also, that's what I remember. In fact, because I think the sketch was going to be something about how, something to that tune of how they were, like, they said that the mask didn't work. They said it didn't work. So
that's right.
And of course, I was like, oh, these people know what they're talking about. But no, they were just lying, dude. Right. I think that was the first mess up in that whole thing, is that you couldn't just tell people, no, the masks work to a degree, but we just need these for doctors. So they're the most important people to a degree right now.
It's so funny to like look back and try and remember what we were thinking at whatever time. Because there was that era where it was bad to have a mask because they're like, the doctors need these. And you're like, oh, wait, so I'm supposed to wear one, but not. Oh, okay.
They said two things, though. They said the mask was ineffective, but also we need the masks for the doctors or whatever.
Right.
You're like,
oh yeah, that's right. They were lying. They were saying they were ineffective, so we wouldn't buy them, right?
Yeah. It's like, as soon as you do that, no wonder everything went out the window. Like that's like, as soon as you start lying, it all goes to hell. Cause then no one's got any basis. Nobody trusts anyone to begin with. And now you're doing that.
Well, and that's just showing that they're not trusting Americans to be like, hey, doctors need these. And Americans are like, friggin' doctors, I need these.
Yeah, I know. But that's
Which
the thing
they
about
are right to think that.
Right. That's the thing about America, though. You try to correct it by thinking you know how they're going to react, and then America just does like the most, I mean, that's just not knowing Americans, I guess, saying that.
Yeah. Like, no, we'll find out the truth. We will. We'll throw your tea in the harbor. We don't friggin' care.
Exactly. We will find out your truth and discover that our truth is more fun to believe, and we're just going to believe that, It's just more fun. And then there are these people who are like, I can sell a bunch of stuff by that, and then we get
listen, I know a lot of people like didn't lost a lot of trust in the CDC during that time. I have never trusted the CDC because the CDC is the one who says that if you have more than 2 drinks in a day, you've got a problem. And that's not true.
that can't be true, can it?
That's hogwash. There's not a thing coming out from that agency that I trust after that stat. What are you next thing you're going to tell me that a pregnant woman can't drink? Come on.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It is interesting. It's so interesting to look back on those Mel and I will do that of just like, we'll drive by and we'll be like, remember when our beach, because we live in San Diego, remember when the beaches were closed? They closed the beaches because they thought, and then in hindsight, like, that's the literal best thing you could do. Just to go be outside.
Oh my God.
In the sun.
I know. Yeah. I know. Closing, you're like, really? Like going to the biggest, windiest place I can think of? That's somehow going to be bad?
We had an era there where AA meetings were closed, but liquor stores were open. And you're like, there was another one that I remember we were driving by, like, you weren't allowed to have like parties or gatherings, but like Party City was still open. You're like, guys, what? Tell us one thing. Just let us be consistent and understanding on one of these things, please.
Dude, all I know is that at some point in human history, there's going to be a contagion type disease and we're just all going to die for sure. We're not capable as people of handling like that, at all.
Yeah.
And right now, Earth is like in the process of like, they tried to get rid of us, but the scientists of Earth, created the whole COVID thing, try and kill off humanity to save the planet, are like, you know what? We know what to do now. This vaccine didn't work. We've got another vaccine, and that's just like airborne disease with conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I think that you just like what's one of the funny things that just about Americans is like, hey man, like we started in revolution. That's where it started. We're like, I mean, there's some king on the other side of the water. Yeah, I don't care about that. And it's just never really went away. We're just a very natural, rebellious country. Even we'll rebel against each other. And then we were at war with each other a few years later.
We've got very third child vibes, America's.
We're like, F you, dad. And then we're like, F you, brother. And now we're like, F everybody. It's just who we are, baby.
Yeah, we're like, and sometimes we're like the third child, like who ended up like getting a good job somehow, because and
we're
then
very high achieving.
Yeah. And then we like look over at the UK, like like I used to respect you, or something like that, All right, time now to play Is This a Bit, where we go through the notes sections on our phone and figure out if it's good or if we should just quit comedy.
You got some too?
Yeah, I do. Dog death gambling by hour. I don't know what that was.
Hilarious.
Here's one. Do you think our nightmares change as we get older? I mean, they do, right? But they're not really scary anymore. They're scary, but it's no longer like, I haven't had a dream in a long time where I was scared I was gonna die. Really?
Okay.
Or that there was a monster. What are my scary dreams?
What are your scary dreams now? Like taxes?
Yeah, something. No, it's just weird. It's not even scary. Okay. I don't think I have many scary dreams now, but it would be funnier if I said my scary dreams are and then listed off scary things.
I think what it is like, I think that maybe a funny premise angle there is like, if you live enough life, you realize that the real world is scarier than your imagination. Like you're like, oh no. Like I thought that like Freddy Krueger was scary, and then my cousin asked me for money.
Yeah, that's great. I thought Freddy Krueger was scary, and then I got an audit note from the IRS. And
yeah. I thought I was scared of spiders, and then I had to like light my water heater.
and you're like, wait a second.
What's the pilot light?
Yeah, if the pilot light's off, there might be gas inside here, but I can't smell the gas, and I don't know if gas. Open the windows, for God's sake, okay? And then you're walking in with like a lighter going, seeing if the flame's getting any bigger as you get closer.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, invisible gas is one of the scariest, or I guess all gas is invisible.
Yeah.
Non-smelling gas is one of the craziest things.
Here's one that I've been trying to figure out is this happened with my son recently. Where he was, I asked him how one of his friends was doing. Like I hadn't seen him in a while. There was a kid on his little league team, and I was like, "Hey, how's Forrest doing?" The kid's name is Forrest, and he's like, "Yeah, he's gotten like really into skateboarding." I was like, "Okay, cool." And he's like really grown his hair out, and I was like, "Okay." And he's like, and he's been listening to a lot of reggae, and I was like, are you telling me that he's smoking pot? And Joe goes, yeah, that's what I was getting at.
I love how he gave you plenty of off ramps to not ask any more questions.
Yeah. But he did want to tell me. He just didn't want to lead with it. Okay. He wanted to let me know that his friend had become a pothead, but he was like, let me say that, let me paint it in a way that I made that conclusion, not him. So he went skateboard, long hair, reggae, which is really the giveaway, because when I was a kid, people said that weed was a gateway drug. And really, it is just a gateway to reggae. That's what it is. Because nobody, like, you can smoke pot and not listen to reggae, but you can't listen to reggae and not smoke pot. Like, those do not, those don't exist. Is that something, maybe?
I think maybe that's something. I think that my question is, why didn't he want to just tell you he was smoking pot?
Because he didn't want to be like a snitch about his friend. You know, he didn't want to just be like, he's essentially saying, like, don't tell their parents and stuff. And you're right. I do need to set up the premise a little more, which is like, my son was trying to be a good friend and a good son at the same time. So he didn't want to snitch on his friend, but he wanted to be honest with me. So what he's, instead of saying, hey, Forrest is like a burnout now, what he said was like, well, Forrest skateboards, oh yeah, he skateboards, but he doesn't actually do a lot of skateboarding. You know, he's like the kid that just has the board. Yeah. There was always the kid that had the board, and you're like, do you know any tricks? And he's like, no, I mostly just use this to get from place to place.
I usually use this just to get behind any dumpster I see, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's funny.
That's a very funny bit. And I think you saying it up too, and like what are the kinds of people that, very politician almost of him, you know?
He's like been a good son and a good friend. Yeah. He wanted to be honest. Yeah. But it was very, you're right. It was very like politician of like, I told you without telling you.
Yeah.
Read between the lines.
Right. Yeah. I could see him briefing the White House someday, you know?
Yeah.
Or do it being in the White House press corps.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's one for you. Don't you dare ask me if I had a beeper growing up. That's just like an old thing.
Oh yeah.
It's just
like that's the people can't like. I mean, you're not that. You didn't have one, right?
No, I didn't. But it's almost like how dare you ask me if I had a beeper growing up? Like, I'm not that old.
No, come on. Yeah. I agree with that. I was alive during that technology, but I was a child.
Yeah, right. Like my dad had one, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
That's like, sometimes they write you off as old in general. They'll be like, you remember back when TV was black and white? You're like, no.
Yeah, there are levels to the old. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that is the youth in general. They just go like, young, they just think like there's me and then there's old. That's it. Like there's just me and old. they're little toddlers in their mind still.
Yeah.
You don't want to get grouped in with old. That's very fun. I think that's a very funny. I'm the age where I know about beepers, but don't ask me if I had one. How dare you?
Right. That's
I wasn't a doctor in the 90s. If you give it a specific thing like that, like I was playing operation. I wasn't a real doctor in the 90s or something like that.
Yeah. Like, or something similar could be like, I watched Doogie Howser, but I watched it on Nick at Night first. Okay.
That's hilarious. That's very funny. Yeah. I know what MASH is, but I didn't watch it in its first airing.
Yeah. Right. But it blew my mind when The Fresh Prince was on Nick at Night. That's when I first understood.
That's very upsetting.
That happened to me early on in life, really. College, I think, is when I first saw The Fresh Prince, and I watched every episode of The Fresh Prince.
That's like I'm like a radio guy. I like listening to the radio, and I'll like you'll be in and like they'll put on like Pearl Jam, and they'll be like classic rock. Like, that's not classic rock.
Yeah, I know.
That's new rock. That's the alternative station.
Yeah. What's going on with this?
Classic rock, Beck. Beck's the young cool guy.
Yeah, Beck? Are you kidding me? He's only 30. And then you're like, he's 58. Jeez. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. We're running low on time.
Can I do one more?
Yeah. Oh, please. I just didn't want to take up your time. Do as many as you want.
I just want to do one more that I like. I want to stop complaining about flying so much, because I've realized that flying is the closest to a high chair you get as an adult. Like as a baby, where you just sit down and people just start bringing you snacks that you put on your little tray.
Yeah.
And you are like, we travel a lot. You're like, it's pretty tough out there. And then when you think about it as an adult high chair, you're like, that's not so bad. People just sit there. Got my little buckle on,
That's great.
Okay.
Little high chair in the
adult
sky.
High chair is pretty. Yeah, maybe that might be like a tweet or a TikTok. Who knows? It might not be a real bit.
I think that's a good one. No, because I mean, you can really build that out. I think you can definitely build that out, because there's.
Maybe Nate can. I can't build that out.
No, that's not true. Stop it. Yeah. What else?
When for the listeners here, Charlie and I are real life friends, but when we get together, we really do just get together and sorrow each other, self-deprecate, self-hate one another. It's kind of like an auction of self-hate.
It's great. I don't know where you didn't grow up Catholic, so I don't know what your excuse is there, but Oh
yeah, I had a parent leave.
Okay, so that'll do it.
That's the lack of value. Yeah,
got it. Okay,
yeah,
that's where that. It's nice to know what the roots are of these two.
Yeah,
because then we know how to really like get under each other's skin, too.
Yeah,
from there.
That's true. That's good to know. And the next time I'm in Milwaukee, we'll hit this pretty heavy.
Let's do it. Well, absolutely. Hey, this is the last time I ask you. Did you ever, as a kid, jump into a mulch pile for fun, like from a tree into a mulch pile?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So so
go ahead.
Was the mulch pile just like eggs and like coffee grounds, or was it grass clippings?
Oh, I don't think okay. When you said mulch, I was thinking more like in yard waste, or like grass or leaves or something like that. Yeah. I certainly leaves and maybe some grass in there. Never trash.
Well, that's not trash. Like eggshells and coffee grounds and stuff.
Oh no, we would just put that in our trash can. We didn't have a little mulch situation in our home, so no.
Yeah, we had this tree, and my dad, I don't think he wanted to pay for mulch or whatever, or pay for the. I don't think there was a way to get this stuff. I don't know why he did it, honestly, because I'm trying to think. Oh, probably just my mom liked to garden or whatever. So it was just like a big like chicken wire thing above this tree, and we would just kind of drop into it. Yeah. And
I think it's funny that your dad might have kept it around for a playground for you guys.
That's a fun.
Yeah. Like it's a very dad thing that you're like, I could get rid of this, or the kids will play in this, and now I don't have to get them a swing set.
Yeah. That actually is what that was the main form of entertainment.
Swing set.
Yeah. It was the main form of entertainment, and it was a good day because this one neighbor bagged his grass actually, and when he would go put it in initially, right after doing it, was still warm from like the being collected, and then you can jump into it, and it was softer than everything else. Anyway, man, this was something there. This was fun. Time really flew
Always
by.
Fun to see you, man.
Yeah. So when are you in Milwaukee again? Just real quick.
I think August and June. I think I'm there opening for Taylor in June, and then I'm there on my own date at the Improv in August.
Sweet. Well, we'll have to grab some beer, some Milwaukee beers.
Oh yeah. What do you recommend? I always, I'm always like, I'm a good I'm good about drinking local, but if nothing else, I'll knock down some Spotted Cow every time I'm in the great state of Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, I got to deal with Leinie Kugels, which is a
there
very
you
nice
go.
beer.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you about Public Square Coffee while we're here.
And now we're in our own Truman Show.
Yeah, best coffee in San Diego, and they do have an online subscription coming, so keep an eye out, everybody. What about here? We'd love to have you on our podcast whenever you're ready. We do it in person though.
My special comes out this week, so
yeah,
bump whoever and get me on that.
Get you on there. I know we don't do Zoom, man. We don't do the Zoom thing.
Wow.
I know it. Well, it's because it's me and my wife, and I just find 3 people Zoom is or 2 together, and the one Zoom, I just find it a little too clunky. But I will promote it to my 115.
Got it.
Yeah, it
just
clunky.
Doesn't
flow.
No,
this isn't. You heard what I said. Don't twist my words, Barons.
I've been on your podcast before. Remember when we sat in those red
Where
chairs?
Did we do it? Oh, that's right, in Spokane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I come out there, we'll have to do it again. I would love to say hi to your wife.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we got a cool new space that we're in, and it's fun. We're into it.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, well, be good. It was super nice. Thanks.
Congrats on the
on.
special. You're very funny. I know you don't believe it, but you are.
Oh, well, I know you believe it. Okay. Thanks, man.
Right.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah, bye-bye.